There is no male loneliness epidemic. It is a loser epidemic. Men would rather be alone than to evolve and change, than to recognize, wait, maybe I had it wrong. Maybe there's something I need to change.
So remember that time I went on the internet and I said that I thought the male loneliness epidemic was in fact evolution? There's now some scientists who are hypothesizing this. It was the first time I've seen it spoken about on like a really mainstream podcast. But essentially what this doctor was speaking about was when genes become maladapted. Does that trigger a mechanism where the expression of that genome causes behavioral traits that are counterintuitive to procreation?
I mean, yeah, we did leave you alone in your peace, and now there's a male loneliness epidemic and you're crying about how lonely you all are because you literally cannot survive socially without women's attention and love.
It's been a couple of months since I last covered the male loneliness epidemic, and a lot has changed in the last couple of months. For one, I am getting much more efficient at debunking myths, and that's exactly what I'll be doing in this video because I am sick and tired of the misinformation that is present in this male loneliness loser epidemic thing that's going on, particularly in America. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some scientific fact, because that seems to be missing quite a lot in these videos, as it pertains to relationships and men versus women, and just how silly this whole thing is. The ongoing gender divide between men and women, particularly in America, has spawned a heap of misinformation. So you might have seen in some of these TikToks or on the internet this idea that one gender is more intelligent than the other. Are men more intelligent than women? Are women more intelligent than men? What is the science here? Well, drum roll please, because I'm going to hit you with the science. I'm going to hit you with the facts. Ding! There is no major difference between the intelligence of men and women. That is the facts, ladies and gentlemen. That is, if you have ever come across someone saying, one person is more intelligent than the other, one gender is more intelligent than the other, just ignore them. The facts of the matter are that men and women do not differ that much on tests of intelligence. This research paper further goes on to say that women tend to score a little higher in processing speed and basically verbal intelligence, but then it also goes down to say that men tend to score higher in visual and pattern recognition abilities. So although there is a little bit of nuance and difference between the two genders, on average, there is no difference. That is the facts. If you come across a video saying that one gender is more intelligent than the other, ignore it. You might have come across videos saying things like, if only their frontal lobe would develop faster, then everything would be better. Or, I wish that their brains would mature faster. Brain development, if they just were more mature faster, there would be no problems. So you might be wondering, is there actually any evidence to support the idea that women's brains mature faster than men's, or the other way around, do men's brains mature faster than women's? Now, the neuroscience here is in development because the tools that neuroscientists use to scan the brain are getting better and weren't available 20, 30 years ago. So the science in and of itself is updating here, but I'll give you the facts. Drum roll, please. According to this paper, and this paper, and this section right here, and this section right here, men and women's brains develop at roughly the same pace. There's no such thing as women being multiple years ahead, and there's no such thing as men being multiple years ahead. Is that men and women's brains mature at roughly the same pace. That's the facts. You might have also heard in the pipeline that if only their emotional intelligence was higher. I just wish they had better emotional intelligence, better emotional regulation skills, and then everything would be better. There would be no relationship issues, no gender divide. We just need more EQ. So this might come as a shock to you what I'm about to say next. Emotional intelligence is not a real concept. Now, hold up for a second before you start typing away madly at me and trying to prove me wrong. The premise that I base that conclusion off of is that in order for EQ to be a real phenomenon, it needs to reach the same threshold of acceptance that IQ, the intelligence quotient, and the big five from personality. So if EQ had reached the same level of scientific acceptance that IQ and the big five from personality had reached, then I would retract what I just said. But unfortunately, the science is debated on whether the EQ exists or whether it is better funneled into the big personality psychology domain of the big five. So in absence of it being fully validated, because you would think that by this point in time, EQ would be a validated concept, it isn't, which I think leads to the conclusion that you cannot say that emotional intelligence exists, because it is more so something that funnels scientifically into the big five personality. So anybody that says that this person's EQ is not high enough, just ignore them. They are factually incorrect. Have you ever wondered whether there are differences or similarities in personality structure between men and women? Well, once again, I'm going to give you the facts. And this is probably the only domain within all of this that I can say that there is a slight difference. For the most part, according to this paper, men and women are almost identical on personality structure. There are a few differences, but it is ultimately negligible. Would you like to know the personality trait that showed the most difference between men and women? It was anxiety. Women tend to score higher on traits of anxiety than men. That was really the main difference. Other things like whether they're cooperative, competitive, structured, extroverted, are all generally the same. So if anyone ever says to you men and women's personalities are vastly different from each other, ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. So why am I making this video? What is the overall conclusion? Well, the overall conclusion is I want this video to serve as a reference point for anyone that is finding themselves in a conflict with someone about gender differences between men and women. I want you to send them this video to show them that across major domains in life, men and women are almost identical. No one is more smarter than the other. No one's brain matures really that much faster than the other's. Personality is almost identical with the exception of anxiety. And if you wanted to really have your socks blown off, that's an unusual expression, you should look into this paper called the Gender Similarities Hypothesis. This is a shocking paper that shows us that men and women are actually almost identical. The main difference comes from physical abilities. Men seem to be able to throw things and show more physical prowess on average than women. That was about the main difference. So if you ever come across a TikTok or an Instagram video of someone saying that someone else is more intelligent or more emotionally mature than someone else, send them this video or just ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm a psychologist. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.